If you're fairly new to Guam or you're planning a trip to visit here sometime and you're wondering what sites to check out while you're here, then I'm glad you're here because in today's video, I will be sharing with you all of my favorite beaches, parks, and landmarks on Guam. Hi guys, I'm Danielle, or Dani for short. I was born on Guam and have lived here for the past 30 years. And even with living here that long, I can tell you honestly that I still have not seen everything the island has to offer. So though I may not be able to cover everything that the island has to offer in this one video, at least for today, I will be sharing with you my favorite scenic spots all around the island. And I would highly encourage that during your stay here, you do get out and explore because I know there are so many hidden gems to be found. You should also know that Guam is very warm and humid at times, so it's just best to, while you're touring around to these different sites, to dress very cool. You might be sporting a lot of shorts, tank tops, and flip-flops while you're here, but depending on what site it is that you are going to, then it's best to be prepared with some scuba shoes or beach shoes because you might be walking in some rocky areas, maybe a towel if you want to dust off the sand, and then of course lather up on the SPF because that sun is out and beaming and you wouldn't want to have a bad time burning while you're trying to enjoy these areas. So the first site that I want to talk about is the beach right along the Alupang Drive. This is located in East Agana, so it's more towards the central part of Guam. And if you were to use the reference point of the Alupang Beach Tower condominiums, then it would be that beach area near those condos. But if you do roll up to the Alupang Beach side, you'll notice there is some pavilions that are open for public access. So some people, if you wanted to just grab your lunch and get a nice scenic view for your mealtime, you can always set up at one of those pavilions. It is an alcohol-free zone though, so you do get a lot of families that want to bring their kids there to maybe set up a little picnic. Either way, even if I'm not going there for the actual beach, I still love driving through that area. I mean, I'll just roll my window down and look out because the waters sometimes are so vibrant, like turquoise and dark blue, like you can see where the reef breaks because you can tell the difference between the colors of the water. But it really, really is beautiful. So now moving down into the more southwest side of Guam, the next spot I want to talk about is the Guam Veterans Memorial Park. And this structure is basically dedicated to honoring the 74 Chamorro men who died in the Vietnam War. And while the memorial itself is really like a smaller park, the view that you can get from there is it's magnificent. If you look towards your left, you would see all like the mountain formations. And then if you look to your right, you can almost see all the way into the Umatic Bay. So while we're talking about the area of the Umatic Bay, the next spot I want to highly recommend that you visit while you're here is Fort Soledad. This site is built on a cliff top and overlooks the gorgeous Umatic Bay, where Magellan sailed into Guam in the 1500s. And during this time, while Guam was under Spanish occupation, the fort was used for protecting the Spanish interests and supplies that were on the island. And some structures still remain, like the lookout point and a few of the cannons. But like I said, and I'm going to keep saying it throughout this video, the sight that you get, the view atop of that cliff, like while you're standing by the walls, is just absolutely breathtaking. Did I mention that you don't need filters while you're taking pictures or videos here on Guam? Because yeah, you don't need filters here. So let's switch over from the southwest side to the southeast side, and these will be more in the villages of Talofofo and Inarajan. The first spot on the southeast side that I want to mention is the Talofofo Bay. And I would highly recommend that you get it from two different viewpoints. So the first being right on Talofofo Bay. If you were to park there, you might be able to catch some surfers going out on the waves. It's a little rocky. It's not it's not the smoothest like sandy shore kind of beach. But it definitely is a nice place to stop and just park at least. And the other viewpoint I would highly recommend is if you were to drive up the hill from the actual Talofofo Bay parking lot. Drive up the hill and you would pull off a little bit more to the right and see this little like lookout point. You're able to park there, and when you get out and just look out into the water, like seeing from where the ocean connects into the bay, I mean, as cliche as it sounds, you just feel so small in this world. But it really is, I mean, it's just an overwhelming feeling just standing atop there and looking over the water. So now we can venture from Talofofo a little further south into the village of Inarajan. And one of my favorite spots to grab a picture, it may not be that spectacular of a beach, but it's still fun to grab this photo. But you can see the bare rock, and it's just basically the way the rock has formed over time of the waves crashing against it, but it really does look like a bear. And a couple times too, you can see like fish jumping out in the shallow parts of the water. I actually, when I went there to film, I kept missing when the fish jumped out of the water. And my mom was the one filming, but it was pretty hilarious. Every time I turned around, I missed it. But also in the village of Inarajan are the natural pools, the Inarajan Pools. And that's an area that's also surrounded by several pavilions. So if you wanted to take your family there, to eat some lunch or set up a picnic, make sure you bring your swimsuit or your swim trunks because you can jump into the water there. It's really, really pretty. So now we're moving back into the central area of the island, a little bit more on the west central side. So this would be in the village of Asan. And the spot that I'm referring to is, what I call the Asan Beach Park, but the formal name for it is the War in the Pacific National Historical Park. This was actually one of the landing points of American forces in 1944 when they were retaking Guam from Japanese occupation. But what we love doing while we're there, because it's such a huge park, is we love taking our dog Max there to run around. Not only does he love just running through the grassy areas, but it's also not too far of a walk to the actual beach. And as far as the park goes, you could, break out the frisbee, throw that back and forth. Max likes chasing coconuts. He's truly an island dog, but hey, what else are you supposed to do when you're born and raised here, right? Continuing to move up from Asan into Anigua and getting more central, the next site that I'm going to recommend is the Latte of Freedom. This is an 80-foot tall structure that was completed in 2010. And it's right next to the Governor's Complex in Anigua. And while it may look inaccessible at first, you actually just have to park off to the side and you can walk up right up to the stairs. And but we were able to go straight in. We just unlocked the chain and nobody stopped us. There was no guard there, and you just basically walk up the stairs and the ramp and go straight into the Latte Stone. And of course, once again, a breathtaking view of the ocean and the waves crashing onto the shore. The best time I recommend to go is when there is still light out. Maybe right at sunset would be wonderful. We've been there a couple of times, but one time we went just at night. I think somebody was hosting a function in the former Guam Museum, which is connected to the structure. And you couldn't really see much. The sound of the waves were, beautiful, but it was definitely a much better time when we went during the daytime. We went around maybe 4 or 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and it was just such a sight to see. Now in the north side of the island, this would be in the villages more of like Dededo and Harmon, but it's along the west coast of Guam. This area is the Mushroom Rocks at Hilaan Beach. This entire site, even just walking there from Tengisan Beach, you can park at Tengisan Beach and then you would walk through the trail. Everything there is so picturesque. It's like the flowers that line your view, there's something about it that's just like so captivating. And then it's such like a satisfying view as well, because once you get out into the opening that takes you to the Hilaan Beach, the way basically people call it the Mushroom Rocks because of the way the waves have been kind of crushing against like each of these rocks, and it's formed them to look like mushrooms. The main one, I'm convinced it looks more like a genie lamp. So it's funny because when I have asked people before how to get there, I say, how do you get to the genie lamp rock? And they don't even know what I'm talking about. They're like, a genie lamp rock. And I had to end up finding out people called it Mushroom Rocks. I've seen a lot of photographers, arrange for like couple photo shoots or family photo shoots there. One, because it's never really that busy. Even though people get a lot of pictures there, you have a sense of privacy. The only thing I would say is this is also very rocky, so wear your beach shoes or scuba shoes, whatever you have that that would protect your feet. And if you're a little more daring and you want to walk out during low tide and actually jump onto the genie rock, I'm calling it the genie lamp rock. If you want to jump up there, then yeah, definitely have some gloves and some shoes available. When I climbed up there, I first of all didn't know I was going to. It just drew me in, but I got cut up a little bit on my hands because it's not the easiest climb. But again, if you have like the proper, gloves and shoes to get yourself up there, then I'd say do it, because the picture and the video is worth it standing up there. And again, no filter needed in this site. So the next spot I'm going to talk about is actually nearby, and it is a very hot tourist spot, but it is the Punta dos Amantes, also known as Two Lovers Point. This is a clifftop site, and it's dedicated to the legend. It's kind of like the Chamorro equivalent of Romeo and Juliet, forbidden lovers, and the only way to escape, being separated was to tie their hair together, because the ancient Chamorro men used to have long hair. And so the man and the woman tied their hair together and they jumped off the cliff so that they would never be separated and their love would remain eternal. There is a souvenir shop located there, as well as a lookout point. A lot of times tourists would actually come to Guam and take their wedding photos there. So you might see some of like the heart keychains connected to the rocks. My husband and I actually got married there at Two Lovers Point. We had actually reserved the Vista Point, which is right next to it. It's connected to it. It's just more private. But we did take our wedding photos up on the lookout point as well. I mean, why not? It's absolutely gorgeous. So now we'll be moving more into the Tumon Strip area. This is where a lot of like our hotels are located. It's a lot more frequented by tourists. But I will say this, any of those beaches there right next to the hotels, one, they're public access, but two, I mean, you could pick any spot on that beach, lay a mat out, bring out your beach chair, and it's always a beautiful, beautiful area to catch a sunset. But for me, one of my favorite spots there in Tumon is at Lotte Beach. And I actually just only recently discovered this because our friends took us there maybe 3 months ago, and I didn't realize how peaceful it is there. So you'd basically park across the street from the actual hotel and then walk down through the, I guess you would say it's like the employee entrance area. But you walk down this hill and then past the church and then down these steps that lead you straight to the beach. And this is where it's very nice, smooth, sandy shores. It's very quiet. The water is nice and shallow at first, but then it takes a deep dip, deep dip. But yeah, so we've gone there and it's just, the water is nice and cool. It's clear, so there's not really a whole lot of like coral or rocks. If you do want to be careful, then just go ahead and wear your beach shoes. But it is a beautiful, beautiful spot to catch the sunset at, or if you just wanted, to crack open some beers, and just enjoy some quiet time. Just don't leave your trash behind, respect Mother Nature. And finally, I am going to talk about my absolute favorite beach on Guam. And this is Dungca's beach in Tumon. Some people might call it Jimmy D's beach because it's right next to the Jimmy D's bar that's located there. But I am there at least every weekend on a Saturday or a Sunday, or even if you wanted to go during more private time, go in the middle of the week. But it is never a boring time there. This is where most people bring their dogs. So I was like, I think there are so many names for it. Dungca's Beach, Jimmy D's Beach, and also Doggy Beach. But there are so many like dogs running around free there, and literally from ultimate frisbee to volleyball to beersby to even just sunbathing. But we have set up there under the trees, or if you wanted to be out in the sun, maybe bring a canopy. But it is one of the most fun beaches because the shore is so lengthy, so there's enough space for so many people for one. But it never feels too crowded. That's how big of a beach it is, that everybody has their own little private space. And then if you did want to get out into the water, it's very smooth, not a whole lot of coral or rocks. And it's not too deep either, so you could walk out a ways if you wanted to. And of course, what would my recommendation be without suggesting catching the gorgeous sunset there? The sunset at Dungca's Beach are just unbelievable. I mean, and they can range, but they also change so quickly. So what might look like a very simple, sunset with like just, blue skies slowly getting dark, it can change in a matter of like 6 to 7 minutes and turn into this like raspberry and orange sherbet sky. And it's just, everybody is just like at a standstill because that's how gorgeous it really is. But it is definitely hard to find sunsets that top the ones here on Guam. Well, that's all for this video on my favorite beaches, parks, and landmarks here on Guam. So if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to check out my other videos, I do have other ones that dive more into like restaurants and dining, nightlife, fitness and recreation, basic needs or basic knowledge to have when you first visit Guam. If you want to check those out, then feel free to subscribe to the channel and yeah, give it a go. Until then, I will see you in the next video. Bye!